Hi there, my name is Sister Pitcher, and I'm your instructor for this spring 2019 FTAM Math 101 course. For those of you who missed the live class meeting last night, this is a recording of the presentation. And if you have any questions about any of the content here, there'll be my contact information at the end of the presentation, and we can schedule a time if you'd like to have a video meeting through Zoom with me. So the agenda that what we talked about was mostly some reminders about the class and also the differences between discussion posting in weeks 2 and 3 and weeks 4, as well as some grading rubrics and extra resources and finally extra credit. Okay, obviously if you're watching this recording, you can't ask me any questions because this is a recording. But like I said, if you have any questions specifically about your grade or course readings, if you have technical questions about Canvas, you can just shoot me an email or a text message or use Canvas inbox. But also, there's a really great resource on Canvas, the help guides. You might see this help icon in your Canvas portal. It's usually on the left side, at least on the instructor view it is. It has really great guides to help you figure out how to use Canvas, because I know it's new for me and it might be new for you too. Some just reminders. If you're a BYU Idaho student, you have until Tuesday, May 14th to drop without receiving a W on your transcript. I'm not sure if we have any LDS-BC students, but the information is right there for you about withdrawals. And finally, if you're a Pathways Connect student, I believe there are a few of you who are Pathway Connect students, you can withdraw for a prorated tuition refund excuse me, until June 17th. So yeah, those are just some reminders for you. So just about my late work policy, I really try to be very accommodating if you work with me. So notify me ahead of time if you know you're going to be on a vacation or something, summer's coming up, you might have some essays and exams or discussion submissions, which are different than posts, and I'll explain that later, that you might need an extension on. Just send me an email, or if you just get sick or something, an emergency happens and you don't think you'll be able to get the assignment on time, again, send me an email and just let me know. And when you do submit something late, go ahead and let me know so that I'm aware to grade it. I zero out missing assignments. All instructors are required to do that week by week. So yeah, I want to make sure that I get everything that you submit late graded. And please don't make submitting late work a habit, or I will start deducting points per day. And I believe my official late work policy is the first announcement in our course, so you can check that. But like I said, I want to work with you. I know that you're online students, and sometimes other priorities trump the class, and I hope it's not all the time, but I know you have kids and you have full-time jobs sometimes, or you have a full course load, and I just want to make sure we all cross the finish line at the same time. So just communicate with me throughout the semester, and so you don't fall too far behind, because there's usually a point in the semester where there's just too much late work to make up. So anyways. Also, I know a lot of you had some issues with the weekly evaluations, and our instructor leader has submitted a technical request to Canvas, Brightspace, to help us get this fixed. So if you clicked on the evaluation link for lessons 2 and 3 and you weren't able to load the evaluation, which appears in a separate browser window, I believe it's a Qualtrics form, and you weren't able to complete that, don't stress out. I'm not penalizing anybody. I'm just granting everybody the point until they figure out how they figure out some way to fix the weekly evaluations. And it took me about 3 times just to load the evaluation evaluation. I had to use a different browser window. I had to exit out of Canvas completely, but third time it worked. So just keep trying. And if you need me to extend the deadline for the evaluation, or if you're just having too much trouble, just send me an email and I'll just grant you the point. The same issue may apply to weeks 5 and 12. It's called the student feedback to instructor. It's also through a third party. When you click on the link, it'll appear in a different window. You could have the same loading errors, but when I tried it, I got it on the first try, which is great. I just had to make sure that my browser, which I'm using Google Chrome, allowed pop-up windows. Otherwise, it wouldn't populate the form. So like I said before, if it's not loading, try again. If it still gives you problems, just send me an email and we will work through it, and so you won't be penalized. Okay, so on the left side, on this white side, lesson 3, which is lesson 2 and 3, you had one component of the discussion assignment, the group discussion assignment. Moving forward in lessons 4 through 13, you're going to have 2 parts worth 20 points total. 10 points is for the discussion, which is the same as you've been doing in lessons 2 and 3. The second part in lessons 4 through 13 is 10 points for what's called the discussion submission, which is a more formal version of your initial discussion posts, and we'll talk a little bit about that. So in your regular group discussions, you should see my question, which is the discussion post question, and then you respond to that. So that way I know which of your initial, but when I go to grading, I can identify your initial 3 posts, which should be completed by Wednesdays, I believe at 11 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And then you need to complete your responses. So in lessons 2 and 3, this group discussion was worth 15 points, and you had to not only provide your 3 initial responses, but also at least 3 to 5 responses to your peers, classmates, I suppose, in order to get the full 15 points. Now, in weeks 4 through 13, it changes a little bit. The group discussion portion only becomes 10 points, and you just need to provide the 3 initial responses and then 2 to 3 follow-up comments to the ideas of your peers by the Wednesday deadline, by Wednesday at 11 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And then the rubric gets lower the less work you do. Now, if you don't post your initial responses by Wednesday at 11 p.m., the most points you can get are 6 points. Now, earlier when I talked about late work, I said that there's a difference between group discussion posts and the discussion submission. So if you need an extension on the actual discussion submission for whatever emergency or you're going on vacation, I will treat that just like an essay. I will accommodate you within reason and help give you an extension on that discussion submission if you need it. Just again, don't take advantage of me. But for the group discussion, if you don't participate in the group discussion live, you'll just get 0 points for not participating. You cannot make up a group discussion because you actually have to be in attendance and you have to engage with your classmates in order to get the points. That's just the nature of the assignment. So keep that in mind. And these points do add up over the 9-10 weeks that's like about 100 points just in group discussion. So just keep that in mind as you participate each week to get those posts in by Wednesday at 11 p.m. and to provide your 2 to 3 follow-up comments to your classmates. And then when you go to the discussion submission, which I'll show you an example of what that might look like, they should really reflect what you talked about and summarize in the group discussion. I don't want to see that you just copy and pasted your initial post from the group discussion and submitted it as your discussion submission. I want to see that you maybe worked off other people's ideas, or you were inspired, or that you summarized what your group talked about for each response. And you're going to treat the discussion submission just like you would an essay. You're going to make sure you have really well developed and edited paragraphs with correct grammar and spelling and punctuation. Now, the rubric for the group discussion, the discussion submission It's pretty simple. 2 points for spelling, grammar, and punctuation, and 8 points for answering all 3 parts of the discussion prompt. And make sure you pay attention to all of the questions in the prompt. Not usually, but sometimes there'll be maybe 3 questions in one prompt for a discussion question. So just make sure you completely answer it and not just focus on the first, because I'm going to be looking for that in the discussion submission. Okay, again, the initial posts for group discussions are due Wednesdays at 11 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. All group members must post their responses to their peers by Friday. So Thursday and Friday is really and Wednesdays are when the conversation needs to be happening in the groups. And then you're going to finalize your responses, maybe using your peers' being inspired by your peers. You're going to upload your discussion submission, which is an actual document, by Saturday. And I'll show you on this next slide where you submit the discussion papers. It's just like you would an essay. You'll go to the weekly discussion submission page in Canvas, and you're going to click the Submit Assignment button. And that, again, is worth 10 points out of the 20. Okay, so these are some things that I noticed in the last two weeks in the discussion posts. We really, even in the group discussion, when it's the online portion, the conversational portion, you're really going to want to pay attention to correct punctuation, grammar, spelling, and sentence structure. Anything that I read should read like an essay, should have as much effort as you would put into an essay. You don't want to forget, again, to do that, to complete the 2 to 3 responses to your peers. And you might be inspired, or your mind might change. Your initial post might change based on what other people comment on your initial post. And that's great. You can reflect those changes in your final discussion submission. And again, you can't get full credit without responding to your peers, and you cannot make up group discussions. And that's the live conversation part that happens between Wednesday to Fridays. So if you miss that, you just missed 10 points. Okay, the actual discussion submission and the posts, I'm probably repeating myself again, but I want to make sure you're getting all of the points. You need to answer each part of the question. There might be multiple questions in one prompt. You should be editing and summarizing from the discussion conversation in your final submission. Don't plagiarize each other or any other vetted outside resource. You can definitely cite where you get ideas from. You can say, my classmate Susie inspired me by blah 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 blah. That's great. I want to see that you're really soaking in what each other is saying and really applying what you're actually studying in the course. And when you do responses to your peers, it won't count if you just simply agree or parrot information from the course. You need to actually provide substance, and you can ask follow-up questions. You can provide outside knowledge or relevant real-life examples, or you can ask questions. You can play devil's advocate. So those are just different ideas of how you can engage in the actual responses to your peers. And then again, correct spelling, grammar, sentence structure, and you're only going to want to use primary scholarly sources. And there's going to be some links at the end of this presentation that you're welcome to use. You're not required to use anything outside of the course reading, but if you feel like you want to, or you need some more examples to help support your claim and your response, feel free to use those scholarly and vetted sources. Okay. Again, you cannot make up group discussions. I can just tell you that a million times just to make sure it's really clear. And I posted this graphic about discussion posts. What makes a great discussion post is it's on the announcements page in our classroom. It's probably like week 1 or week 2. And I just want to make sure that it's very clear my expectations. And you don't need to be super lengthy in your response, but by concise, I don't mean short either. And you need to prove to me that you studied the material. I don't want to see 2 to 3 sentences in a paragraph. Your paragraphs should be robust. They should have topic sentences. They should be 5 to 8 sentences long and include examples, and just prove to me that you studied. That's really the point of this, because I don't have the opportunity to speak with you all in a classroom setting. You just need to show me as an instructor that you're on task and you're soaking up the material and applying it in your life. Okay, this is an example of that actual discussion submission. It may look exactly like this. Your format might be a little bit different. I'm just giving you a good example of what I like to see. I like when people actually put the question in there, so there's no confusion to me about what response matches with what question. And also obviously include your name and the week of the submission, or the week of the discussion submission on the paper. And if you use outside sources or each other or even the readings, I always encourage people to use works cited or cite their source in some way, mention it in your paragraph, whatever it is that you do. Prove to me that you're not plagiarizing. The university does take that very seriously, and I don't want to be in any situation where I have to report or contact a student regarding stealing, plagiarizing off of other academic sources. And that, but also goes with us with saying, is if you want to quote someone, you're welcome to quote, but like in this last fake paragraph of gibberish, there's just one little quote in here. But what we don't want to see, instructors don't want to see extensive use of quotation. So if your quotation is more than one line long, you're going to want to paraphrase that, put it in your own words. And that's actually part of the essay rubric that we'll just show you in a second. You also notice that the discussion submission paragraphs, they're just paragraphs. 5 to 8 sentences long, but they're going to answer every part of the question. So you don't need to send me a page for each question. I don't want to read a page for each question because there are 50 of you and one of me. So that's that. If you have any questions about it, just send me an email or text me or something. I'm happy to help. Okay, so the essay grading rubrics, you might have already seen it. I just wanted to go over it again really quickly. So the course outcome part, I'm not sure if students actually see this on their end of Canvas, but it doesn't affect your grade. It's just data collected by the university. But the other part of the rubric is essay organization. So does it include an introduction? Does it include body paragraphs? Does it include a concluding statement? And does it meet the page requirement, which is always one page, and it's single space and 12-point font. If you double space an essay, but it's 2 pages and it equals to 1 page single space, that's fine. That doesn't bother me, as long as it would equal single space 12-point font. Also, don't use like 5 lines in the beginning of your essay to do FGAMF 101, like the header information. I don't need that. I know what class you're in. I know you can put your name on it. I know who I am, so you don't need to put my name on it. Title your paper, obviously, but don't try to take up a lot of space by putting unnecessary double spaces in the beginning of the essay. I know what you're trying to do, so no need to do that. Also, spelling and grammar is important, of course. 5 points for no spelling or grammar issues. Also, the next part is answering the prompt. So you address every part of the prompt. Again, there's usually more than one question in an essay prompt, or they give you more than one instruction. Please provide real life examples. They might tell you provide exactly 3 examples. Just don't forget, otherwise I have to dock the points for not completing the prompt. And thoughtful analysis is all about, did you formulate a thesis statement, and did you use evidence from the course readings in your own words? Again, in your own words. We don't want to see excessive quotations from the course reading, but again, if you need to quote 1 line, that's fine. I don't want to see a paragraph of you trying to take up space with a quotation. You need to be able to put it in your own words. That tells me you understand the material, and you'll get 5 points if you do all of that with your thesis statement. And if you have questions about what a thesis statement is, let me know. I have a good resource about how to formulate one. But if you have a good thesis statement, you won't have any trouble filling one page with any of the essay prompts. Your body paragraphs will support your thesis statement using the course readings. Again, you don't need to use outside sources. Everything could just be used. You could just use course readings materials. Materials could be like the course videos in the study section of each week. You don't need to do outside research if you don't want to, but if you do, by all means, there might be one essay prompt that asks you for some real life examples that you might want to research, and you're more than welcome to do that, just remember, cite your sources. Okay, in week 4, you're going to see this Constitution worksheet, and it's quite lengthy. It is optional. Optional meaning you do not need to return it to me. I don't care if you do it or not. I don't want to know if you do it or not. But I will tell you it is very helpful for the second exam, which might ask you blatantly what certain article means, or so it is prepping you. But again, I'm not grading it and I'm not accepting it, so collecting it. So it's really for your study purposes also, just for your study purposes. So if you have any questions about that, send me an email. It is really a great resource, and it would probably help you on the final too, because the final is very comprehensive. It'll draw questions from all lessons, and you might even see some similar things from that pretest you took. And I also, just FYI, I don't create any of the coursework or tests, exams, quizzes in this course. I just facilitate them. So if you have any questions about or concerns, or you don't like the way something is phrased, just let me know. It might be needed to be updated, and the university always wants to make sure that the course is very clear, especially sometimes you run across a quiz question, you're not 100% sure what that means. Just finish the quiz, because you are locked into a time. Allotment's usually like an hour or two. And just finish the quiz, because once the time starts ticking on the clock, the quiz will continue, and I don't want you shut out. So, and then let me know if you have a question about a certain part of the quiz or exam, and I can address that with you one-on-one. And it might be a case where the question was just super confusing and it really wasn't a great question, and sometimes we run across that. So just any concerns, you let me know, and we're happy to help you. So again, I'm going to give you a link to this presentation in the announcements in our course, and these are real links to different resources. ALA Purdue in general has a great resource for MLA, which is, I don't have a preference for any formatting, but MLA is honestly probably the easiest. Academic Support Center, this is the BYU Eyes online tutoring. It's free, and you just sign up online. It's really easy. There should be no excuse for you to have trouble in writing, or actually they also give you tutoring, I believe, in the course content. So if you have any concerns about that, just visit the Academic Support Center. It's really great, and it's free. These links are, like I said, you're not required to use outside resources, but should you want to, these are some vetted ones, some scholarly ones, and they're all included in BYU Idaho, in the course classroom, usually on the study page or the essay page, one of the assignment pages. Sometimes you'll see these links. Feel free to use them. Just make sure you're using citation so I know you're not plagiarizing, and that's really clear. Okay, so just because you watched the recording, or if you attended the live class meeting, you'll receive 10 points. If you watched the recording, though, I need to know that you watched it. So I'm going to have you fill out this really short Google form, where you put in your name and maybe answer a question. And you can't get it wrong, so you'll get 10 points. I just need to see your name on the list to make sure that you're able to view it. Throughout the semester, though, you might see in some classroom announcements an opportunity worth 2 points each for sharing a story. So one of the goals that I have as an instructor is for you to really apply what you're learning in your life, or what you observe going on in the world. So if you see a news story, say, we're talking about the Constitution right now. If you see a news story, this is going to be an example, about constitutional violation, maybe in court, where I would ask, you see the announcement, extra credit opportunity, post a link to that news story, and then tell us why it's relevant. And then sometimes we learn from each other about what's going on, in the world. And if you're from another country, give us a link to a news story in your own country. Maybe it's not like anything that you're learning in this class because it's American government. Maybe you share with us how it's different than how American government operates or functions, or political ideologies are different. We would love to hear from those that live in other countries, have different experiences. Anyways, it's really short. I'm talking 2 or 3 sentences with a link. Worth 2 points each. You can get 20 points max in this course of extra credit. So it'll be randomly. There'll be at least 5 opportunities to participate and share a story. There might be some more, but please don't ask me for extra credit opportunities at the end of exams. I may introduce another one, but these are just the ones that for sure will happen. So take advantage of Share a Story when you see it, because you have to do it within the week it's announced. So if it's announced in week 5, you have to participate in week 5. Otherwise I'm not going to go back to week 5 later and make sure I gave you your 2 points. So it needs to be an active discussion. Anyways, yeah, that's great. And we're not going to say a closing prayer. We did in the actual meeting, but in the recording we won't. But I don't hold regular office hours on Zooms, but I am really willing and enthusiastic. If you want to meet in Zoom at some point, just let me know when we can schedule an appointment. That's my personal cell phone number, 801-319-5642. If you ever need to get a hold of me and you're worried that Canvas inbox or my BYU Idaho email is just too slow, like you're having an emergency or you have a real quick question and you're in the middle of an exam or whatever it is, don't hesitate to text me. If you try calling me, you have to leave me a voicemail. I don't answer my phone typically because it's usually solicitors. So just text me and give me your name in your text message, because I don't have your phone numbers in my phone. So I don't know who I'm talking to. Usually, it's funny, people usually text me and they don't give me their name. So, or you can reach me on my BYU Idaho email address, or Canvas inbox is my preferred communication method, just because it does go to my phone through the Canvas app. So, if you need to message me there, I'm likely to see it pretty soon. If you do, though, have an emergency past like 11 p.m. Central Standard Time, I'm not probably going to answer until the next day, FYI, just because that's when I go to bed. So anyways, thank you all so much for joining me on this recording, and I hope that I answered some of your questions and calmed some of your fears about weeks 4 through 13. If you have any questions or concerns, just let me know, contact me, and I am happy to help. So I think it'll be a great semester, and again, I'm looking forward to getting